Hello everyone, Alistair Gold here. Things are going quite well for Tottenham Hotspur. Whisper it quietly though, because we don't really want anyone else to know. Just let them kind of plod along like this and just be right up there near the top of the table. Because Spurs, as I've said, not even reached their top gear. And I still didn't even think they were against Everton, but they played well for long periods. And they are right up there in the table. And Antonio Conte afterwards was in a great mood, such a good mood. And he had the look of a man who knows that a lot of things he's doing behind the scenes at Tottenham are paying off. And you can see that out there on the pitch. And the other reason I think Conte was very happy was the wing-backs. I asked him about both wing-backs as well. And he was, actually, I think I asked him about Doherty, but then he offered up his opinion on Perisic. But he was very happy with them both. Pretty much because they were both playing that flying style down the flanks, both getting into the other side of the box when the other was about to cross. And a lot of their best moments in the match came because the wing-backs were involved. They did both play very well. Matt Doherty, or Matthew, as Antonio calls him, that's why, because it was Antonio, Matthew Doherty, he's been working so hard behind the scenes. He really, really has. I told you back in Korea that he was up there, among the, the top kind of runners and everything that he was doing. He was really, really giving everything to it. And you know what? I think you can see it physically. I was looking at kind of him yesterday, and I was looking at photos of him before, and he's so much leaner. And this is not to say that he was a big guy at all before. I think he was always Premier League fit, as in a really fit kind of guy. But my goodness, his cheekbones now are so prominent. His face has got so much thinner. He must have lost a ton of weight. And Conte was very happy with Perisic as well. He kind of looked a lot more like the Perisic, I think, that Conte thought he was getting. Pretty much admitted that. Now, there is a theory in South Korea. Mostly, I've seen some comments from a couple of kind of non-Korean fans as well, but mostly when I've had comments about this, it's come from Korean fans under sometimes YouTube videos, or on Twitter, on various kind of social media platforms. And the theory is, if you're not aware of it, is that when Perisic plays, Son doesn't play well. And that Perisic gets into the box more than Son does. And I've seen some people have also had claim that Perisic doesn't even pass to Son. Not as many, but I have had a few say that. And I was quite surprised at that, I'll be honest. Look, I know the numbers will support that theory if you were to look at them, because you will look at that and you'll say Sonny scored 5 goals when Sessegnon was in the team, not Perisic. Which is a little bit of a... How do I put it? It doesn't really paint the whole picture, because obviously those 5 goals came in 2 matches. So yeah, all you're talking about then is 2 matches. What I would say, my feeling on this is, I think it's an interesting theory, and I think it's one that needs to be probably watched a bit longer. However, I kind of went into yesterday's match with that theory in the back of my head. I must admit, I'd seen it. I was a bit like, okay, obviously that's something we'll have to keep an eye on now. If it is being put out there. But I actually was watching the game, I'm thinking, they're linking up really well. And literally in the opening minutes, I saw Perisic playing Son, I think down the left-hand side, and I saw Sonny play a really good quick free kick to Perisic, which set up a chance. And there were quite a few moments like that. And obviously there was a terrific chance that Perisic slung in a really good cross for Sonny, that unfortunately Sonny just at the last kind of moment, I don't know whether he lost focus or lost the ball or whatever, but it kind of hit him on the shoulder, I think it was, rather than the head. Sonny heads that home. I think the whole theory kind of ends and dies, because suddenly Perisic has set up a beautiful goal for Sonny. It just didn't quite work. But I felt Sonny played well yesterday. And I felt before as well, not just kind of after the formation switch. I felt he played well yesterday. I thought he looked really dangerous. I think the other thing you've kind of maybe got to understand when we're talking about Perisic being in the box, as I've just said with Matt Doherty, that's what Conte wants. That's exactly what the formation wants. So there are going to be times when the wing-backs will be in the box, whereas what we've got to understand as well is, even in the 3-4-3, the two players that are kind of like that, let's say Richarlison and Son, we could say 쿨루셉스키 and Son, whatever, they're not in the natural sense of being either side of Kane. They're actually, Conte refers to them as two number 10s. That's exactly, if you ask him, that's what he calls them, number 10s. So they are meant to sit more, I guess centrally, but also able to go out wide. It's quite a versatile position, but then also able to go forward and attack. So I think that's kind of a bit of a misnomer to try and say that, Perisic is getting wild, Perisic is getting into the box or whatever, who's doing what? Because I think that's the whole beauty of the Conte system, is that every player, every role they're in, they've got so many instructions that they can kind of essentially be anywhere. I mean, the midfield's a great example as well. We were saying about Bentancur and Højbjerg, they're meant to be defensive midfielders, but they're also meant to provide in the attack and also go out wide, sometimes covering for the wing-backs if the wing-backs get stuck up pitch. Every position has loads of different stuff they're meant to do with it. And I think the biggest thing for me with this theory, like I say, I like theories. I like them a lot. I like them a lot. I sound like Dumb and Dumber. I like to kind of see where these things grow and where they're coming from and everything. But what I would say, it's incredibly early days because, we've got like a very small sample size when it comes to Perisic and Sonny. Don't forget that they've only played a couple of months together, if that. I mean, we're talking about a handful of games, whereas, someone like Sessegnon, let's say, Sessegnon has known Sonny for 3 years. Yes, he went away to Hoffenheim for a season, but ultimately they'll know each other very well, and they'll have trained on the pitches constantly. They will know each other's games. I think you've got to allow for players to get to know each other's games. And I actually felt, like I say, yesterday, I was seeing a lot of signs that there was a partnership growing, which was why I was a bit surprised that I was still seeing some comments after the game that Perisic was the reason for Sonny not scoring or whatever. Like I say, Sonny buries that header rather than hitting his shoulder. We're talking about a completely different thing. Because like I said, I thought Sonny played well. I did. I was really surprised when I still saw the stuff coming afterwards. Sonny can play well and not score. That's absolutely fine. He can score, he can play well and not grab an assist. Doesn't mean he hasn't played well. Like I say, we'll keep an eye on that one. But I think we've got to understand, you've got Sonny, who is a world-class player. For me, one of the best attackers in the world. You've got Perisic, who is, Conte will tell you, is one of the best, if not the best wing-back in the world in his eyes. You put those two players together, they are not going to be detrimental towards each other. They're not. They just need a little bit of time to continue to evolve as a partnership. Exactly like Cesc did. Don't forget that Cesc probably, being a younger man, he may, on occasions, just say to Sonny, out of, I guess, respect for the older senior player, just give him the ball. Whereas sometimes maybe that isn't the right thing to do, and it works in different ways. Different players, different ways of doing stuff. There may be times when Perisic is a bit more experienced, he might see a better ball on. He might. But that partnership will grow. Honestly, you're talking about two top draw players. They'll get to learn each other's game. And do you know what? I do think the 3-5-2, if it ends up becoming the formation for the next few games, I think that will only help their partnership as well. Because in essence, I guess, with a 3-5-2, you are forcing Sonny and Kane to play closer together. So Sonny will be more naturally in the box, if that's where everyone wants to see him. I actually think he's obviously terrific out wide as well. I think he is. I think that's the luxury of a player like Son Heung-min, is that he can do so much. He's not just a guy that you'd pigeonhole into, he can only play in that role. He can only be in that position on the pitch. I think Sonny's, honestly, if there's anyone you will hear me rave about, it's Sonny. You know what I was like when he was going through that little tough spot early in the season. I was very much like, don't forget, when you criticise Sonny, that's when he makes you look like a complete and utter muppet. And I do feel like this is going to be the situation with Perisic. I think Perisic, in a 3-5-2 as well, I think he's going to provide a lot of ammunition. I think we will start to see, this is my, how do I put this, my prediction, my declaration, whatever you want to call it. I think within the next few games, you'll see Perisic get an assist for Son, or the other way around. I think the assists between the two will start to rack up. I hope Sessegnon does it as well, but I hope they all do it. it's a bit like the same on the right hand side. Like I feel there's a different partnership between Doherty and 쿨루셉스키 than there is between Emerson and 쿨루셉스ki. Whereas Emerson, I feel very much just is, here's the ball, you go for it. Maybe you could argue is a little bit like the Son one, maybe. But I also feel like for Doherty and 쿨루셉스ki, Doherty is quite willing to kind of go past him and take the ball, and it's a different dynamic, but one that also works very well. So, yeah, I do think it's very, very early days. Like I said, my Hoibier comment earlier on in the poll, Korean fans know their stuff. They really do know their stuff. But I just feel maybe those people, and this is not just Korean fans, like I said, I've seen it from some other fans as well, Spurs fans from other countries as well. I just think it's a little bit early. I think we just calm for a sec. Honestly, I'd watch back especially those opening moments of the game, and as it went on, I really felt that the two of them were starting to get a partnership and linking up. Maybe I'm just mad, but I guessed he beside me. Guessed he was saying he could see the same as well, and seeing the two of them. I remember because I was doing a live blog, and I kept writing in the match blog like, yeah, Son and Perisic linking up well. But I think I tweeted it as well. Perisic now to Son linking up well, these two, and it's a bit like. That's why I was surprised when I still saw it afterwards. So Conte said about Perisic, even Perisic today played in the way that I know him. Also, even for his injury before, he struggled a bit to have a good performance like afterwards. Yes, normal performances, but my expectation about him are like today, to play like the top. And there was another wing back who we got to see. It was Jed Spence. Oh, he had such a lovely moment.